Hello and welcome to Breakfast Central on News Central. It's Thursday. It's the day before the weekend starts, and we are happy and excited as usual to be here. So many things to talk about from the Nigerian news and current affairs space, and guess what? We'll be doing justice to some of the biggest stories from the tax reforms alteration that we hear happened at the National Assembly and what it means for Nigeria's number one citizen, President Wale Ahmed Tinubu. You can put all the names together. And then don't forget too that you have the ADC reversal. You have so many stories. Well, it's all gathered here for you. So do us a favor, stay with us. My name is Joe Hansen. Don't forget to follow us online and stream, and also drop a comment or two. The man himself is here. Yes, of course, as usual. No introductions. What's up? Good morning, Binga.
Good morning. It's the penultimate day before the weekend and the penultimate week before we get into that festive week. I mean, the 2 weeks, yes. Christmas is next week. This time next week, it will be Christmas. We'll be saying Merry Christmas. And then a week after, we will be ushering in 2026. But things aren't slowing down politically. There's a lot of developments. There's a lot of pushback. And scrutiny and talks of accountability today promises to be, as always, very informative, and you're sure to learn a thing or two from our in-depth analysis of the biggest stories affecting us in this great country of ours, Nigeria. I am Benga Aborowa. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
And of course, I am Olive MOD. Super delighted to be here on a Thursday morning. It's the season of Dirty December. My friend says it's destiny defining December, not Dirty December. And there has been outcry against the influx of IJGBs into the country, but not necessarily against the influx. I would say the capitalization of the influx of the IJGBs. What we've seen is that individuals, businesses have started to exploit the unusually high crowds. We're seeing those who are increasing the cost of their goods and services beyond normal. This is something we'll properly break down tomorrow on the show. But just to mention, to start off and say that it's really very despicable to see how people are exploiting.
But Olive, isn't this basic laws of economics? Yeah, demand and supply.
We're doing too much. We're doing too much. So first of all, I think that Dirty December is a great concept, the idea of it, because it creates commerce, it increases tourism. Opportunities are birthed because a lot of people are coming into the country to experience our extraordinary festive lifestyle during the Christmas celebrations. However, we, the locals, have to bear the brunt in terms of the traffic situation, where it's really now everywhere, there's traffic everywhere. Where you would typically go, you will spend 30 minutes, now you spend a minimum of 2 hours. Everywhere is blocked because everybody is outside. Now, it's bad enough.
We're outside.
We outside.
It's bad enough that we have to deal with the traffic, the really crazy traffic. What's worse is that you now have to pay exorbitant prices for goods and services. There was a public outcry against Airbnb saying that people were talking about the millions they have to pay now for accommodation. Laura Ikeji had put out a video of how her braids, before she left Nigeria, it cost her 70,000 to do her braids. And now her friend wanted to do braids. And the same person that made her braids for 70,000 naira before she traveled, I don't know when, but definitely before this festive season, now tells her, Auntie, this is December, so it's 250, I'll do it for your friend. So imagine the jump. Okay. It's not even a 100% jump.
Wow. You know, I like this. I like this.
Last time I checked,
if they're not careful, this might be the last Dirty December, and people will move on to Ghana, where they used to go, and other places, because you want to squeeze the neck of the golden goose. I mean,
do you even know the irony of all these things? It was Ghana that started
exactly.
December.
It was Ghana, the year
it started
of the
in
return.
Ghana. And you know anything that starts in Ghana and Nigeria takes it over, we overdo it.
You see this particular one, I'm not involved in this argument. For in case when they come for two of you people, I'm not involved.
Who
started Dirty December?
No, it started in Ghana. It was part of the year of return.
You can check it out.
I'm sure I'm not involved.
No, you can check it out.
I say I'm not involved. I'm not around.
No. Anybody that wants to argue,
but the crux of the matter is
we're ready for them.
do not adjust and do things reasonable, this might just be the last.
The beauty about Christmas or the ending of the year is how you get to spend it with friends and family and people you haven't seen before. It's why people would typically arrange their weddings around this season so that their friends who are coming back into the country can experience it. They would arrange celebrations towards the end of the year. Let's not spoil it. You know, there's that spirit of togetherness, that spirit of love. Let's not spoil it. And no one is saying you can't increase because of demand.
It's 10%, 15%.
Be reasonable about it.
10-15% increase. That's reasonable.
And I feel maybe the government might need to step in to start regulating. Because
is this not the time people give discounts?
That's why they give that their nonsense discount on the last Friday of November and call it Black Friday. Because that discount is even rubbish. Because what you buy for 200,000 naira, they'll tell you they are selling it for 189,999 naira. I'll tell you that it's Black Friday.
Clock it. 999.
Nothing to clock there. Anyway,
let's manage the pain for now and allow those who are coming in to also bear the brunt.
I honestly can't wait for January. I don't like the traffic. I don't like the...
I dread it. I don't like it. I'm not enjoying it.
Extortion, traffic, increase in fuel price.
Increase in police.
Thank God this period, the fuel price.
There's also increase in police checkpoints.
Oh, yesterday I met with 3 checkpoints yesterday. It was quite funny, hilarious. I was like, wait, in the midst of all this traffic on the island, we're now heading towards... Where you wouldn't even see the policemen, they were there. They were like, hey, how are you? I'm like, okay, what's going on?
Well, maybe the defense of that would be that when there's an increase in population, there's also an increase in crime.
So we need to see more of them makes sense for policing. But are they doing core policing duties at those places?
Stop and search is part of their rights. And their responsibilities.
No, stop and not searching people's pockets, just looking for, there's something they're looking for. Exhibit.
Let me also mention that the VIPs still have their police officers. I saw some this morning. Plenty of them, and I kept laughing.
VIPs and they're VIPs.
Yeah, and I kept laughing. I said,
there are levels to VIPs.
These policemen are not going to leave. Anyway, let's start off the show with a follow-up on what's been happening with Dangote versus Mr. Ahmed. Now, in case you've heard, well, let's tell you again, or in case you haven't heard, Farouk Ahmed stepped down yesterday as CEO of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, capping off a turbulent week marked by serious allegations of corruption. The controversy erupted after billionaire industrialist Aliko Dangote accused Ahmed of financial misconduct, alleging he spent $5 million on his children's education in Switzerland, an amount Dangote argued was far beyond the means of a public official. On Tuesday, December 16, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, acknowledged receiving Dangote's petition and confirmed it would launch an investigation into claims of public fund misuse and abuse of regulatory authority. Well, now you know. There are also statements that Ahmed defended himself by asserting that his children were awarded 50 to 60% scholarships and that his 4 million naira monthly salary, along with decades of service, could account for the expenses. He also denied any misuse of public resources, although sources say Ahmed met with President Wale Edun earlier before formally resigning, and the presidency has since announced that a new nominee has been submitted to the Senate for confirmation. You can find that announcement on the SSA to the President, Mr. Bayo Ononuga's X page. He also dropped that there. There you have it. He talked about engineers Farouk Ahmed and another person, not just him. That's talking about
yes. Former chief executive officer of the NUPRC.
Absolutely. So they've all left. There are 2 new nominees. The presidency has passed that to the Senate, and they've asked the Senate to speed up the review and ensure that these ones get to work ASAP. But let's see what Nigerians are saying before we come back to the studio so we can move on very swiftly. We have a lot to talk about. What are Nigerians saying about this move? Well, Ginger says, so it took Dangote calling one person out for the whole house of cards to collapse. Ooh, I like that. Interesting. He puts a series there in between. The resignation is immaterial. He must come forward to defend himself against the allegations. What actions have the agencies taken since Dangote made the allegations? Well, we read the actions they've taken, by the way. Farouk needs to be brought to justice and forced to account for money and its source. His resignation should not shield him from investigation unless our agencies target only the common man. We'll find out, Yusuf. We'll find out. I. Let's move on to another one. Corruption and enrichment beyond means are criminal offences. If the ICPC finds merit in Aliko Dangote's petition, which alleges Farouk Ahmed spent over $5 million, some reports say $7 million on Swiss schooling, they can still charge him to court. Yes, they actually can do so once proven. Now, the ICPC has the power to track assets. If the investigation proves the funds used were proceeds of crime or diverted public funds, the Commission can apply for an order of interim or final forfeiture of property belonging to the former officials. Section 44 of the ICPC Act allows the Commission to investigate any public officer, past or present, who appears to maintain a lifestyle or poses assets disproportionate to their known income. That's Professor Imonokai who's speaking, and Mazu Cheukwedo, who always speaks tough, says there are 3 types of resignation for public service: voluntary resignation, resignation under pressure, resignation on health grounds, and Dangote induced resignation. So that's the number 4.
We've been seeing a lot of number 3, resignation on health grounds, but it's good to see a different type of resignation.
And the final one we'll take so we can get the reactions from here. Great. Now the ICPC should get to work. Also, the new MD of the agency should also ensure Alhaji Dangote does not monopolize the petroleum sector. Of course, we can use one stone to kill 2 birds. Thank you so much, Olu. That's what we're going to take on the tweets. Let's come back to the studio.
But we don't know why Mr. Benga resigned, NUPRC. Was it as a result of a stray bullet?
I mean, sources
in the grapevine.
In the grapevine, believe that, of course, both agencies are interrelated, right? Nigerian Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, as well as the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, I believe. Now, beyond the fact that these two, another point to note was that they did not come in with this administration. They came in with President Buhari, and oftentimes, because you understand that that sector is a cash cow, is a money-making sector.
It's the golden goose.
It's our golden goose. And usually, the president, being the Minister of Petroleum, will often want to put his own people there. It's what the arguments are, that each government would like to ensure that their own people are being put there. So it's why the conversations from the grapevine would be that the president automatically would, capitalize on this opportunity to put his own people there immediately to ensure that he can oversee what's going on there. Is it directly related to the accusation against Dangote? If you ask me now, who I go ask? If I say Baba, you say Gida, that one, now you complete them. But the
news is that they resigned. So
yes, the news is that they resigned. It might be, and that's a better and a more dignified way, as opposed to say they were being fired. The other question
investigations should not stop.
The other question is, yes. The other question is, will there be investigations due to the strong allegations that have been made against him? The answers he has given, many have argued that they're not commensurate to the allegations, because you can't say that 4 million a month.
Because NMDPRA on their official Twitter handle,
page, yes,
and they shouldn't be doing that because it's a private matter.
It was a personal issue.
Did release a statement that the purported statement that was released in defense of Engineer Farouk didn't emanate from him, that at the appropriate time and place he would give a defense. So we can discard everything that we scholarship and all those things that we heard. It wasn't from him.
Okay.
And next time they should stop using official government handles to pass personal issues.
All right, that being said, there's also the issue of what led to where we are? What led to what many will call Dangote did as fighting dirty? It's regulating importation, regulating the possibility of importation. Many have argued that Dangote is trying to hold the market down, and what will happen if a nation like Nigeria is solely dependent on Dangote? If anything by any chance happens to Dangote refineries, we are really doomed. So they're saying, leave this option open. Let other people be able to import, so that if anything, we have options. It's not that we're solely reliant on Dangote refinery, that we have the options to import as well. But from the Dangote standpoint, it's thinking, I invested a lot of money into this. I, stepped up to the plate. I stepped up to the challenge to fix a problem that Nigeria has had for years, and I should be able to get value on that. I should be able to get returns. The moment you open up the market, you may not be able to make as much of a returns as he's put into the business. But it's over to you, our audience. He's out of the way. There should be investigations carried out. But do you think that the argument about the policies that have been argued, that Dangote is trying to monopolize the market? What's your thought? Let us know. YouTube, do you think that they should basically not allow importation? They should restrict and regulate that? Or they should open up the market so that there are multiple players and we don't have to be solely dependent on the Dangote refinery? But let us know what you think about that on YouTube. We're streaming live on News Central TV. All right. We'll now move over to our next story. Now, this one is a very interesting one because we're counting down the days to the implementation of the new tax laws, the 1st of January, and everyone has been wondering, what will this mean for me and my business? Update. Honorable Abdul Samad Dasuki, a member of the House of Representatives, has alleged that key provisions in recently gazetted tax laws were altered without legislative approval, raising serious concerns about procedural integrity and transparency. Speaking during a plenary session, Dasuki claimed that the final gazetted versions of the tax legislation differed from the harmonized bills passed by both chambers of the National Assembly. I hope you understand the implication of what this means. He described the discrepancies as a breach of legislative privilege and called for an urgent investigation to identify how and why the changes were made. The allegation has sparked debate over the scarcity of Nigeria's lawmaking process, with many Nigerians demanding accountability. Let's take a look at this video.
This flaw is not what a breach of privilege has been committed, or referring the matter to the Committee of Ethics and Privileges. Still, if the matter is raised in the Committee of the Whole, the chairman shall leave the chair on the order to report progress. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm here today because my privilege has been breached as a member of this all-important House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we passed the tax laws on this floor. And Mr. Speaker, I took my time in the last 3 days to look at the gazetted past copy, the vote and proceedings of the House of Representatives, and also went an extra mile to look at the vote and proceedings of the Senate of what was harmonized. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, what I passed on this floor is not what is gazetted. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I have all the copies, but I'm coming under privilege because I was here, I gave my vote, and it was counted, and I'm seeing something completely different. So on that note, on this privilege, I will call on Mr. Speaker to graciously look at what was harmonized, what is in the gazetted copy, what was passed in the House and the Senate. You will find out what is before Nigerians, which is being sold to Nigerians at the Ministry of Information, which I personally went to buy the gazetted copies, are not what was passed. So there is no motion here, but Mr. Speaker, I'll be pleading that all the documents should be brought before the Committee of the Whole. The whole members should see what is in the gazetted, should see what they passed on the floor, so that we can make the relevant amendments. Mr. Speaker, this is a breach of the Constitution, this is a breach of our laws, and this should not be taken by this honorable House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Abdul Samad.
I do not,
Why we have a National Assembly. They are performing their oversight functions. Kudos to Honorable Abdul Samad Dasuki.
I think we should just clap. I think we need to clap for that. For once. Let's clap for ourselves. Because sometimes we are quick to say the bow and go is not working, they need to do their job. This is how a National Assembly should work.
So
he's a member of the PDP, though, just to...
That is why they say be afraid of a one-party system.
Yes.
That is it.
Said, I don't know if you understand the implications, and we need to understand the extent to which the discrepancies have been made. Because let me paint a picture of what that thing...
Discrepancies mean maybe it was a mistake.
Error.
Yes, it was deliberate.
Let me explain or paint a picture of what this would look like. A picture would be that I have come to Joe or Gbenga to sign a check for me. You've signed the check and you made an error. And typically, you know, with checks, if you've made an error, you can append your signature across the error and sign again, right? You sign there just to ensure that, you know, this is from you. Then you collect it. Since the person has already signed, you now go and change the figure, knowing that that signature will cover for it, and then you tender it to the bank.
That's.
Or you've written a document, you've applied for leave, you've told your boss that you're taking 2 days leave, they've signed it. No, they've signed it for you. Before you take it to HR, you quickly change the number of days there and take it to HR. HR can obviously approve, seeing that your boss has signed. Or you've gone to the airport and then you've checked in. They've tagged your box, and you tell them, oh, you know that there are certain things you shouldn't travel with. For example, you shouldn't check in your power bank. You know that things you shouldn't check in. Then they've already tagged your box. They've checked and scanned your box, for example. And then by the time you pass, you shall find a way to sneak it in. I'm just thinking of terrible scenarios. It's fraudulent.
Let me even explain. It's even worse than these explanations you've given. And I'll explain why it's even worse. The Punch newspaper, one of their reporters, according to yesterday's paper online, they were able to get the gazetted copy from an anonymous person and said, in the house. And they said, okay, can we get it? Let's even go through it. Let me just mention a few things, because that's our job here as journalists. There are 4 pointers in the alleged altered tax laws. One of them is that the committee's review, supported by forensic comparisons and independent legal opinions, established that substantive provisions were inserted, deleted, some were deleted, or modified after passage by both chambers. Do you know what this means? Hold on. 2, several oversight, accountability, and reporting mechanisms approved by Parliament were removed from the final acts. Number 3, new coercive and fiscal powers, e.g., arrest powers, garnished without court order, compulsory USD computation, appeal security deposits, appeared without legislative approval. Number 4, the lawmakers further argued that Section 4 and 58 of the 1999 Constitution vests lawmaking powers exclusively to the National Assembly, not the presidency. So what are we saying here? It means that, 1, the MOU that was signed between the FIRS, now known as the NIRS from January 1, and France may have had these things or these pointers. My question is, when I saw all of these things, looking at this, please, the presidency, I know they are watching. Is it too hard a thing to do to make this MOU public to Nigerians? We had a guest who joined us here. He's been going to the National Assembly, talking about Shegu, and he sent me a message 2 nights ago and said he has requested of the MOU from the FIRS. And he sent me a screen grab.
Using his freedom of
they answered him. He said, please, can I get it? He hasn't gotten it till today. It should be made public. I'll give you an example why this is so dangerous. It's like signing your life to someone. You're entrusting your life to someone who has told you, don't worry, I'll take care of you. Oh, you're unemployed. Okay, don't worry, we'll take care of you. But you didn't know that what you signed, what you saw that you signed was, oh, you'll be paid XYZ amount, you work 9 to 5, you do this. But just as soon as you signed, they took it and changed the entire agreement and replaced it with something else.
It should be front page news on all newspapers today. This is monumental, and in the history of Nigeria, I think it's very unprecedented too. The federal government needs to come out and explain why this has happened or who dropped the ball. And when you talk about tax, you're talking about people's hard-earned monies. So if I'm going to pay, we already have a problem with compliance and people thinking that, if I pay tax, the government hasn't done anything for me. After all, I'm my minister of power, I provide my own security. And then you now have this coming out at the tail end, just a few days before implementation is meant to kick off.
Cancel.
I think the right thing for the government now is to postpone, is to just pause.
Let's pause
and scrutinize. Let both parties, let the National Assembly and the federal government look at the final gazetted copies and let those who have inserted, deleted, and altered what the National Assembly sent to the president for assent, they need to face the full wrath of the law, because this is fraud, this is criminal
heads must roll
at the highest level, and heads must roll.
I'm sorry to butt in again, guys. I mean, Olive, sorry, before we come to you. When we talk about certain crimes that are committed in Nigeria, we talk about Yahoo boys, we talk about this. This is the highest, this is
level
the highest.
Because
this is going to affect generations. This is, do you know what this is?
Okay, so I'm just waiting to hear from, Taiwo.
I'm shocked the SSA has not said anything.
Definitely has to speak about this, and I'm sure that before the end of today, we'll
when
hear from
Farouk
him.
Ahmed was, the SSA quickly put out a statement. Mr. Bayo Ononuga has not put out one statement.
No, but I'm not even waiting on him as much as I'm waiting.
He's expected. He's the one who quickly writes. Let him write on this.
I just checked his X to see if there's been any recent update, maybe this morning, that I've missed, and so far, the last tweet has been the past 2 days, and there are many who have called for his sack and his arrest and investigation. But I'm sure we'll get the clearer picture within the next few hours. But let's head to X to share what Nigerians are saying about this tax situation. Of course, I can see that a number of comments have dropped on YouTube, and I'll take that as well. The House Representative Member Honorable Abdul Samad Dasuki, PDP Sokoto, today alleges that the gazetted tax reform laws differ from the versions passed by the National Assembly. This is an impeachable offense, Inibehe Efyong says.
Absolutely.
And still moving on, we have our next tweet. Immediate action must be taken to halt the tax reform right now. What on earth is going on in our country? Does this mean that all our lawmakers were completely deceived? With only one member sharp or courageous enough to spot it and speak up. If this is confirmed, it should lead straight to impeachment, Ben Samuel says. And in our next tweet, this one appear what I ordered versus what I got. They pass law for house, but by the time you reach printer, the law will do plastic surgery.
I mean, that's it.
Jiggy Mav says. I think that's where the matter will end. Your observation is noted, and I assure you that an action will be taken. But let me see what action is going to be taken by rubber stamp members, A. Fatai says. And we have a few other tweets. We can take a few other tweets before I head to YouTube. Okay, that's all. Let's quickly head to YouTube. Moki Chukwemeka says, Nigeria is the more you look, the less you see. I wish the House of Assembly...
African magic.
I wish the House of Assembly can take this tax issue up seriously, but I know they won't. Tim Onwubiko says, is there anything this government will not breach? Why forging and gazetting something different from what was passed? Is this not an impeachment offense? Mokunye Chukwemeka goes further to say, can you imagine what they have done? Nigerians will still keep quiet, and the APC data boys will support the nonsense that they have done to the tax laws. The government does not have anything to explain, Benga. This is not new to the government. Terrible people in government.
I want to ask a question as well. Honorable Zak Adidiji, who signed that MOU with France, which one did he sign? Is it the gazetted one, or is it the one that was approved by the Assembly? That's a question everybody should ask. And if he's found wanting, by now, in Sena clients by now, he would come forth, do a press conference and state, dear Nigerians, go online and download. You know this is it. And then again, what happened to Deloitte?
I think it was your Olive that mentioned the danger of a one-party state. Because if he was a member of the PDP, of the APC, they will tell him to keep quiet because you're going to be embarrassing the government. And Nigerians will never know about this. And that's why it's good to have civil society groups and advocacy groups that go around scrutinizing some of these documents.
That is the essence of checks and balances.
That's why, because you can't just trust the government and take things for their surface value with this sort of Yahoo-like behavior.
Okay, let's quickly move on to a very important next story. In a dramatic turn of events, the Delta State Court has stepped in to stop the police and the Inspector of Police from enforcing the controversial tinted glass permit, a policy that was set to take effect on January 2nd, 2026. This move comes after widespread backlash from motorists and civil society groups who argued that the permit was unnecessary, cumbersome, and ripe for abuse. The controversy gained more attention when the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, warned that enforcing the policy could infringe on citizens' rights. However, on Wednesday, the 17th of December, 2025, yesterday, the Delta State High Court in Orerokwe granted an interim injunction, effectively putting the brakes on implementation until the substantive case is heard. This, of course, has been an ongoing conversation. You can see the NBA chairman, NBA president, the Leonard S.C. and Mazi Afam And you can see that this has been a conversation that has stirred controversy. We've talked about it on the show, and you can see Mazia Famosigwe speaking here. Look, it's really a sad thing. I know that there's a tweet. Maybe let's take the tweet for the court order, and then let's take a listen to the audio of this.
Police, if it is a crime fighting measure by the police or policy by the police, and not a money revenue making one as we contend it is, and as it is indeed, why can't this data be obtained at the point of renewal of your vehicle particulars, which involves the police, the customs, the state security service, and the licensing authority? Why is the IG so interested in compelling members of the public to pay money into a private account? And there's a lot of opacity. How did they arrive at the amount being paid? How is this money being spent and shared? If it is for public purposes, why is it not being paid into federal government account through a TSA account?
And that is a great way to end that question. If it was for the public, why is it not paid into the federal government account?
Private account.
You know, it's very. We talked about this some days ago, and I'm sure that Mokme Chukwemeka is very excited about this update, because yesterday he was like, I hope it's part of our lineup today on the show. And even Lilian Onoha, some days ago, Barrister Lilian Onoha had commented on YouTube. Our online in-house lawyer. She had commented on YouTube saying that, you know, the NBA had gotten a court order restraining them from implementing it. When we ask here that, is the court really the last hope for the common man? And do we really respect court orders?
We will tell at the end of
We'll find out now.
Yes. But I would like to say a big thank you to Mazi Afamosigwe, the NBA president, and also members of the Nigerian Bar Association like Oliver Modi. This is what public advocacy means.
Thank you very much.
Championing the rights of the masses, of the ordinary Nigerians. The Nigerian police must not, because commonsensical, we spoke with Serap the other day, if you look at the case, security-wise, commonsensical, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. So I don't understand the force of the Nigerian police force, why they really want to enforce this by force. And I'm glad they went to court immediately to challenge this.
Okay, let's see what Nigerians are saying on X, and to our YouTube audience, if you'd like to share your thoughts, please share them as well so we can take them after we take the tweets. Ogalan Lord says, permitted by law or not, the real issue isn't tinted permit. It's police abuse. Nigerian police officers will use it as an excuse to harass and extort citizens, and even worse, the courts should decide, Ogalan Lord says. Now, I beg you, most police on the road don't know the meaning of ex parte injunction. In fact, some of them can't even read and assimilate it. They'll waste your time and resources on the road. Please, go and regularize your tinted papers. Yepa. The next tweet, but honestly, why do you need a tinted glass if you are not a criminal? It is okay.
This one is driving keke. Or bicycle. He's just hating.
It is okay for celebrities and individuals of interest in the society like Dangote and so on.
No, not really.
To use. We're not done with that. Can we please drop
He thinks tinted glasses are for fashion.
So
no, we need to
finish
educate him. Let's help him. Let's help him.
He says it's okay for celebrities and individuals of interest in the society like Dangote and so on to use tinted glass vehicles, but it has turned to what you see everywhere, and it is easy for criminals to make use of it. So let's just highlight a few things. Alatika Baba, that tinted permit, yes, tinted glasses can be used by all the aforementioned here, but also for medical reasons. There are people who have eye conditions and they're not supposed to have direct access to sunlight for prolonged periods, so they should have tinted cars. So for medical reasons, yes. And also it's 2025. A number of the most recent cars, they come with factory-fitted tinted glasses.
You're also talking about UV rays.
Exactly, that's where I was going to. Global warming, UV rays. You also, there are people who, sunburn, all of that, UV rays and so on. Some is medically even advised.
You know what? Let's move away from these conversations. We will, of course, continue to take more. Final tweet. I hope your NBA president... Have we removed the tweets? Okay. I hope your NBA president will not go on a peace meeting with the IG tomorrow and vacate the injunction like what happened the last time. This thing permit law is obnoxious, anti-people, illogical, and inimical to modernization. NBA should mobilize and ensure the law is repealed. Thank you, Ekuyoyo. And this is how we draw the curtain on Wake Up Conversations. Remember that we're still engaging with you on YouTube as well. All through the show, we'll be going to YouTube from time to time to take your reactions to the stories. But these stories are what we're going to share with you now. Let's see our headlines today. This morning on Breakfast Central, we'll be looking at the state of the nation with Senator Shehu Sani joining us for the analysis of same. And moving on to our next story for records. Federal government records 30 trillion naira revenue shortfall in 2025 according to Wale Edun, but there's still a conflicting report which we will bring. The NLC leads nationwide protest against insecurity, demands urgent action. This happened yesterday. Reps approve proposal for electronic transmission of results. Is that a positive step in the right direction? You decide. And the newspaper front pages will form a key part of today's show. Stick around for all these. Welcome back. The federal government has reportedly missed its 2025 revenue target by jaw-dropping 30 trillion naira. Nigeria's Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, made this known this week during an interactive session with the House of Representatives Committees on Finance and National Planning. The session was convened to discuss the 2026 to 2028 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework, MTEF, and the Fiscal Strategy paper. The appearance followed the transmission of the MTEF and FSP to the House by President Bola Tinubu last Wednesday for legislative consideration and approval.
What does this mean for Nigeria's fragile economy, for public sector wages, for infrastructure, and for the average Nigerian already grappling with inflation and currency depreciation? We shall take a look at recent allegations made by a member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Abdulsamad Dasuki, PDP Sokoto, who says the tax laws have also been tampered with, as the gazetted tax reform laws differ from the versions passed by the National Assembly.
Now, we will get into the conversation in a moment, but let's take a look at this video.
Consideration of the National Assembly in accordance with the established constitutional and legislative appropriation process. Right Honorable Speaker, the bill seeks to authorize the issue for the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation of the total sum of 43561,041,744,507, comprising Naira, comprising 1742786788150 Naira for statutory transfers, 8270960606831 Naira for debt service, 11268513380853853 Naira for recurrent non-debt expenditure, and 22780968673 Naira for capital expenditure stroke development fund contribution for the year ending 31st December 2025 as provided in the bill. This bill is to bring an end to the practice of running multiple budgets concurrently, while at the same time ensuring reasonable, indeed, unprecedentedly high capital performance rates.
Well, joining us now to unpack the implications of this development, we do have senior economist at SPM Professionals, Dr. Paul Alaje, joins us all the way from the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and thank you for being here this morning.
Beautiful morning to you, sir, and your colleagues in the studio. Thank you so very much for having me.
There's a lot to unpack, and it bothers not just us as journalists, but we can imagine how Nigerians feel this morning. Just a while back, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in recent times had said that the country had already met its target. There was no need to borrow. He did make that statement, and maybe the producers will also help to put it out there. It made the headlines, the front pages of the newspapers, when the president said the target had been met. And just when the minister was invited, he did say that there was a shortfall, and they needed to at least 30 trillion naira shortfall in its revenue target for the year 2025. So let's start from there. Where do we really go to, and what should we actually believe? Should we believe that it was met, it wasn't met, or is this simply a case of maybe communication error or breach? And how does this affect the economy as we speak?
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, I've read the statement starting with what the president mentioned, that the revenue target has been met, and it was mentioned for the full year. But I think there was some communication concerns with that, because I think the authority, since came back to try to manage the communication, that might not be what the president was referring to. Besides, I think he was speaking with these political folks, I think the members of the defunct CPC. And when it comes to politics, we need to be careful when we are bringing economics into politics. It might not be as we thought it should be. Clearly speaking, revenue target at a time until now has not been met. Professional, who I think should know, is the Minister of Finance. In this case, I've said about 30 trillion naira revenue shortfall has not been met. So when he speaks, he's not speaking as a politician. I have not seen the Honorable Minister in political arena, and I also think that it's a professional who should know what he said. He was once former commissioner. He's since worked in this part of the side. For those of us who work in finance, who works as professional, so I want to believe that he knows what he said. But here is the background. Before now, 98% of revenue to service debt. Administration had mentioned that has since reduced to about 68 to 70%. But I doubt if that will not such. Chances are really very high that there may be a resurgence of debt service to revenue, as 30 trillion naira revenue gap means a lot. Now, what should we do when we have this? First of all, what is the implication of these revenue gap? Number one, the easiest one will be we resort to debt. When we resort to debt, we have two options, either local debt or foreign debt. And that's a lot of processes taking foreign debt. Taking foreign debt will take time, and it also puts our exchange rates under pressure. Two, the second option we have is local debt, which means raise bond rates, treasury bills. All of these also have implications. As fast as they may be, through the central bank, we are also crowding out employment, we are crowding out investment. What that will mean is that private sector cost of borrowing will increase sporadically. No wonder you might notice that central bank interest rate has not gone lower. It has been high at unprecedented figures. Central bank has claimed the reason for this is high inflation. The same administration mentioned that inflation has since dropped from 34% now to 14% in recent history. One would wonder how 20% of inflation had been removed, yet interest rate is very high. Why? Because interest rate has to do with confidence. Those who want to invest in the economy when the rates are low and they feel that the true measure of inflation is eroding their wealth, they will perhaps not want to lend to the economy or invest in government fixed assets, which includes T-bills and bonds, if the rates are really low. So here is the truth there. The revenue target that is not met, we have implication on borrowing. And when borrowing surges, what it means is not just the money that matters, it's how much we are spending to service it. Remember, when services increases sporadically, we have concerns regarding who we pay back. What percentage of our revenue are we going to spend to pay back? Before now, 98 kobo of every 1 naira we receive from every sources, which includes tax, which includes gain from crude, which includes monies realized by customs, immigration, and so on and so forth. 98 kobo of those monies were used to service this before now. The administration said they've reduced this sporadically. But now the question you may want to ask is, professionally speaking, as an economist, what do we agree around the world as what should be spent to service debt? Only 33.3%. What that means is 1/3 of all revenue is what you should use to service debt. You have the remainder on capital expenditure as well as recurrent expenditure. So that takes me to another effect this may have. If we're spending that much, it means we're going to resolve into borrowing, and that also means that if we don't have much to borrow, then we're going to call capital expenditure. You now see why we say we are running multiple budgets concurrently, and we have not really figured out where these monies will come from. And administration wrote a circular not too long ago to say that 70% of capital expenditure in 2025 can no longer be implemented. It's not visible for implementation. What we'll do is to take that and push it to 2026. Now, listen, that has implication. when you don't implement capital expenditure completely, what it means is that you have stifled the economy of investment, and you implement recurrent expenditure because you have to pay staff, you have to do administrative overhead, government overhead, transfers, and so on and so forth. But the remainder, which goes into rails, which goes into roads, which goes into education, which goes to the capital component of health, 70% has been postponed till next year. Now, what now becomes of the 2025 budget? Recall the kind of balance we had when President made that brilliant presentation. When you go back at the end of 2025, in a matter of days, can we say it's still the same today?
All right. You've really given a detailed explanation. Thank you very much for that. So now what we're saying is that the federal government had a target of 40.8 trillion naira revenue to fund the 54.9 trillion naira budget. But now we have a 30 trillion naira shortfall, meaning that only 10.7 trillion naira came in. And like you said, there will be a carryover to 2026. For the everyday average Nigerian, what is the implication of this?
Okay, so implications are the following. I've mentioned macro implication, what happens to the economy as a whole. For individual, what it means is you're a contractor and you are hoping that you get paid. I am sorry, your money, it depends on which side of the divide you fall, may not come as at when due. And for those who are expecting roads in their area and they have businesses by the side, because when those projects comes, they open road, they open all of those, they may not be as you expect, maybe by 2026, if those part of the budget are implemented. But you know, what law will make them function? Because the law you have is for 2025. That is how budget functions. We need perhaps to repass them. So bottom line is this. The economy is expected to sluggish, to slow, because we do not invest as much as it's required, as much as it is expected in it. So generally speaking, and I'm hoping that Mr. Wale Edun, who has tried his best not to engage in ways and means, but if you are not even getting money to borrow ways and means, that has implication, not just only on our viewers, but the three of you in the studio. The naira in your pocket may not be enough to buy what is buying today.
And this is vis-a-vis the potential of, you know, what the new tax laws will bring in 2026. But before we get to projection for the future, would you say that this happened because we were maybe overambitious with the 54.9 trillion naira budget? Or it was mismanagement, you know, poor choices, poor policy executions? We've seen a lot of back and forth with the administration where they announce a policy, then they come back, and then it looks like it wasn't properly thought through. So would you say that it was an overambitious budget, or we were not, and we're not realistic, or it was poor policy that has led us to where we are today?
Now, you are not far from the truth. Both are correct. Actually, it's not a matter of or, it's a matter of hand. And I think we may need to even add a third leg to that. First, we wanted to jump from the realm of 30 trillion to 50 trillion naira. I remember I spoke with one of your colleagues many months ago, I think around January or February, when the budget was passed. And the question was, how visible is this budget? And I said, well, to a large extent, there are some concerns I have about the budget. One of those is inflation projection. One of those is our ability to meet our targeted 2 million barrels a day, and we are too overambitious regarding the rate of what crude oil will be. Today, the rate of crude oil is less than $70 a barrel, as against what we said we were going to make. Number two, we also are doing less than 2 million barrels a day. Perhaps that's why MTF is saying about 1.8 million barrels a day, compared to what we said last year, because that budgetary projection was just overly overambitious. Number three is when it comes to other revenue sources, perhaps this is where we need to worry. Apart from crude, there are other natural resources. Our policies to put everything in the hands of federal government, is it really working? What happens to other mineral resources, other natural resources? Again, are we able to combat some of the things that takes our money sporadically, which includes insecurity? What can we do once and for all to stamp out insecurity on our nation? And we can have more revenues. Apart from revenue, even what we have made, we'll spend judiciously. If we don't do that, I am sorry, like I said to some other news channels, that 2025 budget, in fact, I told them 2023 budget, 2024 budget, 2025 budget, they may not really bring any change. Remember that one of them is budget of hope. I said, well, budget of hope, I cannot see it. Budget of
restoration.
Many names.
2025 budget of restoration.
So I don't know. So beyond the rhetorics, beyond the nomenclature, beyond the names given to our budget, I remember a state governor brought a language, a term in the dictionary.
The professor
that was categorized as among the longest in this budget. At the end of that same year, I saw the governor crying on television that he has failed these people. It is not about the celebration of going to state or national assembly to give name to the budget. Is how strategic are we for the budget? And let me say something about MTEF. MTEF is not just a ritual that let us write something and at the end of 3 years. No, you want to construct a road that will take a medium term. What are the things you want to do majorly that are medium term? Those are the things you put in MTEF. In the next 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, maximum 5 years, we want to construct XYZ. For instance, we want to connect the entire north central Nigeria with rails. What do we need to do? Put the one for this year in the budget, the one for next year into the budget, the one for the upper year in the budget. We now come back to check. You know what we do for those of us, civil society, and those of you that are our friends in the media, we never ask questions about what happened to the previous NTEF. What we do is that there's a way the conversation is stifled, is reduced to what happened to the previous budget. Previous budget is just a year. If we want economic development, we must think beyond 1 year approach to economic development. What builds nation is medium. What are we doing in the medium term? Look at the MTEF and ask, what is the goal of this MTEF? Is it to build roads? And which road? It should be start to finish. Is it to build road? Is it to build rail? Is it to build schools? Is it to be, what are we trying to do with this MTEF? It is not just a ritual. And this is what I've spoken regarding several presidents. And I think states could also be submitting their MTEF and be made public. It is, now all of these, like our MTEF, they are not coming, they are not having their life from anything. Where should we have our life from? It is national economic strategic document. That document will say where we want to be in the next 10 years. So different states and federal government will take their life from it. Now, that document must be passed to law. It should not be what a leader or a president or a governor just go to the assemblies to just say, pass this for me in the next 1 year, and it's going to be, you are happy, I'm happy. No, it's going to be across political parties. All states will sign to it that in the next 10 years, Nigeria wants to build, for instance, in Lagos skyscrapers. What are we going to do to support state government as federal government? Because that's what the Lagos people want. Or we're saying that we want to build a deep sea port in a different part of Nigeria. What are we going to do as federal government? What are you going to contribute as state? So, and we now watch the budget. That time, your stress, my stress, as journalists, as civil society members, and as economists, we sporadically reduce, because whosoever becomes the governor or the president subsequently knows that this is what the book says. And that is why I tell you, we need major legislation review regarding the largest fiscal documents that we have as a nation, which is the budget. If you don't, honestly, after the budget is passed, if you call me that, what do you see about this budget? I tell you, it might be of hope, there will be no hope. It might be of faith, but there will be no faith. The leaders may love their people, but the budget may not truly love them.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alaje. I believe the governor you were referring to is Professor Ben Ayade. He had some really interesting names for his budgets. There was budget of kinetic crystallization. There was also budget of quabalistic densification. And there was budget, the greatest one of all, my favorite, was the budget of Olympotic meristemasis. Yes, it's no longer. I don't know what that means. But moving on to other very serious matters. You talked about revenue shortfall, and one of the ways that the government is trying to, make up for revenue shortfall is this new tax policy. Everybody's looking forward to 2026, and we've seen the taxman. He's been granted interviews, has been here and there. And then yesterday, an earthquaking, jaw-breaking news broke from Honorable Abdulsamad Dasuki, a member of the PDP in the House of Representatives, who's raised an alarm and said that the gazetted versions of Nigeria's tax reform laws differ from what was passed by the National Assembly. I mean, this is Yahoo and criminality at the highest level, and he alleged some changes were made and adjustments. On whose table does the blame lie as we speak, and what do you make of it?
Well, legislature has alleged. The truth is that for those of us who are within the finance sector, what we have access to is the gazetted tax law. Very clear to you, it's not the first time we have heard that this is not what was passed by the members of National Assembly. If I tell you I'm hearing that for the first time, I will be really, really not fair to you. I've heard it before, and not even in the political cycles. I think I heard it about 3 or 4 months ago from a member of CITN, that is Charter Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, that said that, hey, we might be working with a different tax law guy. For those of you that are in the media, I said, no, until there is evidence, we see what is passed in the National Assembly and we see what is gazetted. And we are able to compare the two and see that truly there are differences. So the Assembly members knew what they passed into law, and the executive knew what was gazetted. So we would need to compare the two. But I hope that it is not true. But because if it is, it's going to have a major enrollment of confidence. One, the excitement. Two, it might even serve as this incentive to Nigeria, who are looking forward to the 2026 implementation of the new tax laws. For civil society, already many people are watching to say that, oh, okay, maybe some of the allegations said by some professional bodies might be correct. But for me, I would not want to conclude until we see the two. And perhaps when the Speaker of the House of Representatives call for the two documents to be compared, and we see where the errors lies. Because confidence is really very important. Yes, there are some admittance by those in government at different fora where they mention that, yes, there may be some discrepancies. For instance, classifying a small organization and small enterprises. Some says for those who will not be required to pay taxes is 100 million. Another portion of the same documents classify them as small. For VAT, another one classified them as 100 million for company income tax, of course, which of course does not align. I think that's the area where government has actually admitted out there. You might see some discrepancies. It's not a perfect document. They are working on it, and they will make sure they present Nigeria with a perfect document. So, but the immediate concern here is trust, is confidence, not just for Nigerians, even those international community and investors in the economy that have so much respect for the administration might think if the most important bill or laws is tampered with. And you see, I want to be very careful in commenting because I need to see the two documents and see key area of concerns before we say it. Remember that the African richest man has alleged someone, and he came out with evidence and even wrote petition. So until that happens, it might be very difficult for us to stick to it, but I just tell you what the concerns are and the part of government in this particular given issue. All
right, we wait to see the final documents and see. I'm sure that we'll hear from the tax master, before the end of the day, and we know what the next steps are. Thank you very much, Mr. Laje, for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much for having me.
All right, let's now bring you what's coming up next. So please stay with us as we share with you.
The Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, has taken to the streets in a coordinated nationwide protest demanding urgent government action on the worsening insecurity plague in the country. From Abuja to Lagos, Enugu to Kano, workers and civil society groups are saying enough is enough. The protests come just hours after failed talks between the NLC leadership and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Placards read, "Nigeria is bleeding, end banditry now and secure our schools." The message is clear. Nigerians are tired of living in fear.
This is to call attention on the seriousness of both financial and fiscal insecurity. And you can see from him even agreeing to talk with us yesterday, he's getting momentum. And as we progress, the awareness and consciousness will be created. So I don't see why, people will try to demarcate themselves.
People are now afraid to move out of their homes and go to their places of work or where they buy their trade. People are afraid. Some people that their hobby is traveling, they have now struck it off from their hobby you are moving out of your home, you are returning back to one peace. We are afraid of kidnapping, we are afraid of ritual killings, we are just afraid. And the work of the government, they take an oath. The oath is to protect lives and property. So we want to use this to be a wake-up call to those who are the leaders in the country, to wake up to their responsibility of security.
Echo, it is unhappiness, but the seat of power will keep mute. So, as we are aware, we are unable. We must thank people for what they did that we feel is good, and we will tell them we are not happy where we are not happy. Mr. President, we sincerely appreciate your effort and your concern towards inviting our leaders to come and sit and come out with solvable solutions that will help the masses. Your Excellency, sir, security is an issue that we at Labour feels without it, there can never be a nation. For every nation that is bedeviled with insecurity of this magnitude, we are at the brink of collapse. We sincerely thank God Kano State is peaceful. We have a peaceful atmosphere in Kano. We have less of these crimes, but still, we need to continue putting more efforts to make sure that what is happening in other places did not come into Kano and involve our people. We have the belief, Your Excellency, that you are doing your best to make Kano secure. We have the beliefs, Your Excellency, that you are...
Well, joining us now for this discussion is Public Relations Officer, Nigeria Labour Congress, Lagos State Chapter, Ismail Adejumo, joins us this morning. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Great.
So
there seemed to have been a reminder or a mention of this protest, but many, as usual, didn't take it very seriously. So was there a specific tipping point that enabled the NLC to forward march and ensure that they speak truth to power, as it were? Can you tell us about that?
Thank you very much. The issue at stake at this moment is a very critical national issue of national security. And you know, fundamentally and constitutionally, the basic responsibility of any responsible government is to protect life and property and the well-being of the masses. And we, the working people of Nigeria, we are not exception. We are a major integral part of the larger society. And whatever that happens to our members, you know, have a ripple effect to the larger society. Majorly, a civil, working people have a lot of dependents. And most of these people are being kidnapped, you know, on the road demanding for ransom. Majorly, we fall on the decks of most of the public working people for rescue, for them to pay the ransom, and the money is not theirs there. So it is high time the Nigerian Labour Congress deliberated and felt that it is time we lend our voice to the general insecurity that is ravaging most parts of the country.
All right, Mr. Adejumo, sorry to butt in. I don't know if you can hear us, but please, we'd like you to turn on the camera of your device, if you can, so we can actually get to see you, especially for the benefit of the viewers. Thank you so much. All right, so please go ahead. You were trying to wrap up the reasons for the march.
Yes, the reason is just, you know, in Labour Palace, we say injury to one is injury to all. Here in Lagos, where we are, Lagos is one of the most peaceful states in Nigeria, as you know. And we are very, very mindful. Our government in Lagos, you know, is a government that's very proactive. They take proactive measures before insecurity, you know, ravage our communities or enter the state. So it is on that note that in the spirit of solidarity, when this kind of protest is called, it behoves on us as integral part of the larger Labour movement to lend our voice as a wake-up call to the government that they must beef up their security strategy, they must deploy technology, they must gather useful intelligence at this time, most especially through the rural community, our traditional rulers, our market women, traders, all the stakeholders that has one or two useful information to dictate and fish out criminals within the community. So we are calling on government. Lagos State government, as you know, have been at the top in terms of security management. We have Lagos State Security Trust Fund, which is highly funded. A lot of intervention have been carried out recently. We just had yesterday, after our protest, that the governor of Lagos has just purchased about 100 vehicles for the Nigerian police to beef up the security in the state. So we are solidarizing with our colleagues in the northern part of the country, and most especially that is cascading down to the north central Kwara state is being attacked, Kogi, and all these states have direct or proximity to Lagos. So that's why we are out to solidarize with the larger working people and the masses of Nigeria. The government must, as a matter of urgency, declare national emergency on security. Because once security is collapsed, the government fails. I will not allow the government to fail because we, as stakeholders, we are partner in progress. We must ensure that there is protection of life and property and the well-being of Nigerians is guaranteed by the Constitution. So that's why we are out, nothing more.
Okay.
All right. And also, I just want to confirm, I know that there were protests or demonstrations that happened in multiple parts of the country. Yesterday, we spoke with our correspondent in Kaduna, in different parts of the nation as the protest was being carried out. How successful will you rate the demonstration yesterday? And would you say it has the desire, the effect of being able to put pressure on the government as you intended it to?
Quite frankly, you will observe nationwide that there are peculiar cases in some states. Like Lagos, for instance, a peculiar state. I told you, we are not having much of security threat here, but we will just want to be proactive, to ginger our government, to be at the top of the game. If you look around the country, you will observe that some states also have some relative peace, as against some places that are being ravaged by these criminal elements, banditry, kidnapping, and all sorts of terrorism acts that, call for concern. And that is why most states that they also have most of these tendencies, observe it in a very low key. In Lagos, in our usual character, that is not the way we know. It was on a low key, just a peaceful march to the State House of Assembly to lay down our demand. And the same thing happened in most of the states. So you will not expect much, turnout at this time because even the government at the center, the federal government, have already opened the door for negotiation with the leadership of the labor movement. As of yesterday, they were at the villa, trying to dialogue and engage with the president on how to revive the security architecture of this country without, exception to anybody. We commend the government of the federal government for withdrawing, police from all these VIPs who goes around with multiple of security personnel. Protecting individual is a big risk to the nation because it is the institution that needs to be protected. The nation as a whole must be, firmly protected, not individual. By the time we do that, we don't affect our security personnel. And there is need for government as well to, as a matter of urgency, recruit more security personnel into the police, into the civil defense, and all the state of the federation must also complement the federal government in ensuring that they also, invest heavily in local security, so that security is everybody's business. It's not only the federal government, the state government, even the local government. They have their security vote. They must complement and ensure that there is peace at this festive period, so that most people want to travel. They are scared of, committing through the road. And look at the air ticket now. If you are traveling from Lagos to Abuja, you must have almost 500,000 return tickets. So this call for concern. That's why we are calling on the federal government to do what is needed to be done at this time. We appreciate what they have been doing in terms of prompt response to some of this kidnapping, and we urge them to do more so that our society can be rid of all these criminal elements.
Now, I recall you did mention in your submission that an injury to one member is an injury to all. And that brings me to this question. I do understand you represent the Lagos chapter, but what impact as the insecurity situation in Nigeria had on Nigerian workers directly? And what message is the NLC sending to the federal government and security agencies? What's next after this round of protest?
Thank you very much. Insecurity is an imminent danger to every citizen, both the working and non-working people. But we, within the working class, we are being threatened, because if you look at the reported cases of kidnapping and all this, some of them are working people, even in the armed forces, kidnapped, demanding for ransom. So it's an economic threat in the sense that even the farmers who are coming to the urban to sell their farm produce, will be scared, because of the insecurity on the road, and it's cause for concern. That's why we see this astronomical rise in the cost of goods and especially consumables from the rural to the urban. So it's a big threat. We are concerned. The purchasing power of people have already been eroded. So if insecurity now doubles, join into this, then it will go to reduce our purchasing power the more, and it's going to cause a lot of problem of food insecurity, food security. And when there is hunger in the land, then there will be crime. So that is why we are calling on the government to be more proactive, put all necessary technological measures. We can deploy drones. We have some sophisticated cameras that can fish out these people from their hideout and let them be arrested and prosecuted. It is because people are not seeing them be prosecuted. That is why they are almost losing confidence and trust in the approach the government is adopting to address this issue of insecurity. And the labor movement is the only voice for the voiceless. We are the pressure. Look at the clear protest. Government has opened up for discussion. National Assembly has been debating motions, passing resolutions, but that won't come to the attention of government.
Mr. Dejumo, can you hear me? I just want to ask, what is the NLC demanding from the federal government and state governments? Do you have like a list? What are you demanding? And what was the meeting like when you met with the
we want government. Yes, thank you very much. We want government to deploy more security to protect our roads, our communities, our schools, more schools. They need to beef up security around there because students are very, they are the soft target. Vulnerable people, innocent children will be kidnapped and taken to the deep bush. Some of them will be messed up. So we are calling on government to look at this area and beef up security and ensure that there is protection of life and property of Nigerians. As we approach 2026, we say no to all this kidnapping, banditry, terrorism. We want to go into 2026 with full security guaranteed by the government at all levels, not only the federal government, the state government. Now they are taking double of the allocation they are taking for federation account. They should invest heavily in security, just like Lagos State is doing. Other states should take a cue from that, so that holistically we can attack and address this issue of insecurity. And we want government to prosecute, as a matter of urgency, all those who have been apprehended or who have been, indicted for involving in all this criminality. They should not shield them. They must be dealt with brutally to serve as a deterrent to any other people who want to perpetrate such acts. That's our demand.
Okay, all right. I mean, I'm sure that the meeting would yield positive results. We just want to stay positive, and we can be certain that if this actually yields, it definitely would benefit every single Nigerian. Thank you so much for your time, and thanks for talking with us here on News Central.
Pleasure is always mine being with you. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. All right. So I guess the conversation is as clear as it is. The NLC engaging in a protest to ensure that the federal government steps up.
And it's good that at least the NLC is stepping up to the plate, fighting for all Nigerians and not just their members when it comes to minimum wage increase and all of that, that they also engage in other issues. And they've been, the telco fight too, that they should.
To be honest, they have been fighting. It's just, has the fighting been yielding the impact?
What has been the result of the fighting?
Exactly. So I think in that area, they have been fighting. But
Absolutely.
Anyway, we thank our guests for joining us, and to our virtual audience, we'll come on YouTube soon and take a few of your comments. But we have other conversations to look at this morning. We're going to break. And when we come back, we'll be exploring our next conversation. Please stay with us.
The Nigerian Senate has approved a bill to repeal and reenact the 2024 Appropriation Act, following a direct request from President Wale Edun to streamline the nation's fiscal cycle. The legislative move is aimed at stopping the confusion of overlapping budget implementations and strengthening parliamentary oversight on public spending. The new bill authorizes the federal government to spend 54.56 trillion naira in 2025 fiscal year, covering debt service, recurrent expenditure, capital projects, and statutory transfers. Senate President Godswill Akpabio, while presiding over the session, referred the bill to the Committee on Appropriations for further legislative work ahead of the 2026 budget presentation.
Distinguished Senate President, the bill seeks to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation of the sum of 43 trillion 561 billion 41 million 744 million and 507 naira, comprising 1 trillion for statutory transfers, 8.2 trillion for debt service, 11.2 trillion for recurrent non-debt expenditure, 22.2 trillion for capital expenditure and development fund contribution for the year ending 31st December 2025, as provided in the bill. This bill is submitted to bring an end to the practice of running multiple budgets currently, while at the same time ensuring reasonable, indeed unprecedentedly high capital performance rates on the 2024 and 2025 capital budget.
The House of Representatives has passed for the second reading the request by President Wale Tinubu to authorize the issuance of over 43.561 trillion naira from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation. This follows a letter transmitted to the House for consideration seeking parliamentary approval for repeal and reenactment bill on the 2024-2025 budget, which was read for the first and second time and subsequently passed. According to the President, the sum comprises over 1.742 trillion naira for the statutory transfers, 8.270 trillion naira for debt servicing, 11.268 trillion naira for recurrent and non-debt expenditure, and 22.278 trillion naira for capital expenditure.
For the consideration of the National Assembly, in accordance with the established constitutional and legislative appropriation process. Right Honorable Speaker, the bill seeks to authorize the issue for the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation of the total sum of 43561,041744507, comprising 1,742,786,788,150 naira for statutory transfers, 827,0960,606,831 naira for debt service, 11,268,513,380,853 naira for recurrent non-debt expenditure, and 27,880,968,673 naira for capital expenditure stroke development fund contribution for the year ending 31st December 2025 as provided in the bill. This bill is to bring an end to the practice of running multiple budgets concurrently, while at the same time ensuring reasonable, indeed unprecedentedly high capital performance rates on the 2024 and 2025.
Interesting times here in Nigeria, looking at the budget, the recurrent and the expenditure, you name it. We did have a guest who joined us earlier on and talking about Dr. Alaje, who had broken it down and also mentioned that we need to pay attention to MTEF, which happens to be the medium-term expenditure framework. This is very key as we look forward to see how Nigeria manages its debt profile. Don't forget too that our guest also mentioned borrowing from foreign reserves and also borrowing from the local one. Foreign will take time and look at the dollarization especially, but local, of course, in Naira. But the big question simply is around the fact that the minister, coordinating minister of the economy as well, had mentioned during his appearance with the members of the assembly that there's a shortfall, and that shortfall has generated a lot of controversy and conversation around what the president has said and what he's saying. Was it a political statement made by the president just to mention that we've met all the targets and there'll be no need for borrowing as well? Well, let's take a look at this footage, and then when we come back, we'll touch on this conversation some more.
Borrowing. We have roughly 152 trillion naira outstanding. And that figure was about 70 trillion naira in 2023 or so. But what accounts for the difference? 30 trillion, as we all know, was the bringing into the light, bringing into the books of the government of ways and means that were previously just ignored and kept outside. Another 50 trillion was accounted for by the fact that the exchange rate doubled. I mean, central bank in its monetary policy focused on clearing backlogs and bringing in foreign reserves, and we know how successful they have been. So of 152 trillion naira, 80 was essentially not new borrowing. It was more.
So that's the conversation that led to the reactions that we have today, where everyone is wondering where the 30 trillion naira shortfall is coming from. But not to worry, in the course of Breakfast Central's programming, not today, possibly later on in the course of our programming on Breakfast Central, we'll try to dissect more of this, this conversation to see where it leaves you as a Nigerian. But then again, let's talk about the dirty December, conversation we've had at the start of this program and one that we'll continue to have, and not forgetting to one of the biggest conversations, the reversal of the ADC. Binga, I don't know how you felt when you saw that story as well.
I mean, common sense prevailed, and I'm glad it prevailed. But the government should anticipate people's reactions before taking decisions, because it does put them in a bad light. They're not thorough, they don't think things through, and this is not the first time it's happening. If you do recall the incident of the presidential pardon, the list, they only took back that list after a lot of hue and cry from the public. What manner of list is this? And I recall us speaking on this show. You were appalled by the things you saw in that list. You were forced to ask the essay to the president that, did Mr. President see this list?
And he got
really angry. He was upset by the question. And I mean, time did vindicate you that your question was absolutely spot on, because a few days after that, we saw a reversal. And this has happened again. This man was barely promoted to the rank of colonel less than a year ago, or maybe a year ago. And then how do you special promotion under the aegis of presidential special promotion, promote him to a general? The Nigerian Armed Forces, there's an Armed Forces Act that governs it. There are certain steps. It's an institution. This is not the Boy Scouts. Even in the Boy Scout and Girls Guide, you can't just be getting badges and promotion like that. There are orders. And I believe it was said, according to the cable newspaper, I read a report there yesterday that some ex-generals met with Mr. President and prevailed on him to, to not go ahead with that promotion. And I'm glad that common sense has prevailed, because it would have caused a lot of bad blood in the armed forces. There will be talks of favoritism and all of that. You can give him, a presidential, national honor. That's under the purview of the president, but going ahead to promote him to a general, there's certain steps. He needs to attend National Defense College. He needs to attend the War College. There are certain years he should have spent, a minimum of 4 to 5 years in his current rank as a colonel before you're promoted to general. So I'm glad. And the good part of it is that we seem to have a listening government.
Yes, so that's
is not too proud to reverse some of his decisions.
So and I'm really glad you've encapsulated most of the things I wanted to say, that there are two sides that I'm looking at this from. First, to applaud the government for being a listening government, that when there's a public outcry or there's a backlash against the government regarding certain policies, the government is not too ashamed to go back and say, you know what, we made a mistake, and then they withdraw that policy.
We hope the Nigerian police can also learn one or two from the government in
what areas especially?
In the tint permit area.
All right, okay. But then this administration, again, has also been accused of taking steps without doing their due diligence. They don't do their environmental impact assessment to see the impact of this. I just use that as a joke, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
They don't check to see the impact of this.
They're not thorough.
They're not thorough. And I can go through a number of policies that have been reversed. There's a cybersecurity levy that was announced, and then after public backlash, they reversed that. Then 18 years as minimum age for admission into tertiary institution, mathematics not being a requirement. There was the Miriam Sanders situation where she was the presidential pardon situation, and then after the backlash, they withdrew the list, amended it, and represented it. There was also there's one again, I think.
The 5%.
You know, if they even go into the focus groups, maybe if you're in the villa, you're part of the communication team, you could call a meeting with everyone and go into a focus group discussion and put on the thinking cap of an ordinary Nigerian. Tell them to trash this policy.
Even in appointment of their ministers. Remember when they had appointed someone to be Minister of Youth, and after public backlash, then they reassign the person to another portfolio and put someone else there. What that can signal is that there isn't any thorough vetting process. There isn't thorough research being done before the government goes ahead to make policies. So what we hope that the takeaway from this can be that there's a thorough job done behind the scenes before the government comes out to make announcement of policies. And when they know how it's going to impact, they can decide whether to go ahead with it or not. But that being said, I think you cannot say that this government does not listen in that sense. They sort of listen. But let's go on a break now. When we come back from the break, we have more to come this morning on Breakfast Central. Please stay with us. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. The Senate has received the interim report of its ad hoc committee on the 2025 National Security Summit with a strong recommendation for the decentralization of Nigeria's security architecture. During the consideration of the report at plenary, lawmakers agreed that the current centralized police structure is obsolete and must be replaced with a community-driven model that includes the establishment of state police. Presenting the report to the committee of the whole, Senate leader Okoyemi Bamidele warned that Nigeria's security approach is dangerously reactive, often mobilizing only after attacks have occurred rather than preventing them. He says that state governors and local government chairmen, though designated as chief security officers, remain ineffective because they lack operational control over security agencies in their domains.
All security agencies should deepen intelligence-driven operations by leveraging on digital intelligence and data-driven analysis as the way forward to combating security in this 21st century. The national security architecture should be redesigned to reflect a preventive approach rather than reactive, which is against global security norms in today's world. Tackling security issues at the local level, there is need for multi-dimensional approach, which will entail a fundamental shift from the monolithic top-down strategy to a context-specific, community-driven, bottom-up strategy. The government at all levels should ensure the identification, apprehension, and prosecution of the sponsors of insecurity, both locally and internationally, by making arrests and cutting their sources of funding. There is a need to establish state police as a result of the increase in population size.
The House of Representatives has approved amendments to allow the electronic transmission of election results from polling units to the INEC results viewing portal in real time. This proposal allows for the transmission to be carried out simultaneously with the fiscal coalition of results. The amendment, alongside 21 others, was approved after a clause-by-clause consideration of the reports through a committee of the whole. Our House of Representatives correspondent, Idong Joseph, now reports.
We've seen the errors. We want to move that we will step down to allow us to review and come back to you with the...
Shortly after stepping down consideration of the 2026 to 2028 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper report from the Committee of the Whole, which the House had earlier resolved into, the House for the second time resolved into the Committee of the Whole to consider a report from its Committee on Electoral Matters. The report, a bill for an act to repeal the Electoral Act of 2022 and enact a new electoral bill and for related matters, is intended to guide the conduct of future elections.
In course of our assignment,
to commence the clause-by-clause consideration of about 58 affected clauses of the Electoral Act of 2022, the long title of the bill was first considered and adopted for amendments.
what we are doing is we are amending the Electoral Act. We're not repealing. If you are repealing, it means you are setting aside the law.
Measuring tape. I won't bring measuring tape.
So what we are doing is amending. That's the correct caption.
Shouldn't be repealing and enacting. So, long title, as amended, carried?
Carried.
A proposal to allow the electronic transmission of election results from each polling unit to the IREF portal in real time, a controversial issue during the 2023 general elections, was adopted after diverse opinions were expressed by lawmakers.
The presiding officer shall electronically transmit the results from each unit to the IREF portal in real time and such transmission shall be done simultaneously with the physical collation of results to the world level.
That's 60 sub 6. My concern is the electoral officer is punished by this clause. But what about the beneficiary of this negligence? I think the candidate of that party should also be punished.
Following further considerations, the House also approved the proposal limiting the jurisdiction of pre-election matters to the Federal High Court in the state where the dispute arises, as well as the Federal Capital Territory. After considering about 22 clauses, further consideration of the report was deferred until the next legislative day for continuation. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
If it's passed, it will be very good, Nigerians have said. But away from that, let's see what will happen starting from next year, as, of course, primaries will begin ahead of the 2027 elections. You can be rest assured that the conversation surrounding Nigeria's political landscape will heighten from the third or the second quarter, I beg your pardon, of 2026. But let's come back home. Let's look at the big conversation. Yesterday, the road leading to other parts in Lagos, particularly the coastal road.
Road leading to Calabar, you mean?
Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road
About 7 kilometers
blocked.
So far.
And you would wonder, ordinarily, how possible is that? This is a road that... Anyway, in other words, we did talk about it at the start of the show, and that's why we're bringing it back again, concerning the Dirty December and the costs of, things, especially from hotels, Airbnbs. If you go to restaurants now, things are like double the prices, and everyone is asking what's really happening. This is as a result of the inflation. After all, they said the inflation has dropped by 14% or thereabout. So why are things still pretty much expensive in some areas, especially here in Lagos?
Well, Again,
that's a question.
That's a question, and people are basically exploiting and extorting the fact that it's December and this is an opportunity to make 300% profit. I'm going to refer to this young lady, Rita Uche, who was embroiled in the NYC drama. She had put out a tweet about the beaches in Lagos. Now, one of our things here in Lagos, particularly for those who are on the island, is to go to the beach. So friends come together, they rent a beach house and they go spend the weekend or they go spend the day. It is like a way to relax, especially during December. It's why a number of people have gone to invest in beach houses. It will interest you to note that the prices for beach houses have skyrocketed. Now, Raya put out a tweet. She says, "Why are beach houses in Lagos so expensive? What do you mean 3.8 million naira for 12 hours and 5.2 million naira overnight? Omonawao." Someone responded to her saying, "The truth in this, especially that Ilashe, I was shocked. 4 million naira for 12 hours usage."
And then
she responds. Yes. She responds saying, "I'm telling you, that amount, if I don't use good dollar, bro." So I think the first thing is, when are they see this money?
That's the first thing.
It's a valid question.
Because you carry 3.8 million naira just to be in a beach house from 12
Something
for 12
like I
hours.
can build a beach house in my village.
And then somebody responded to her today, Akin Olaoye, Akin Tolgate. He says, "You want to rent an entire beach house built with 800 million naira for 200K per day? Nigerians are wicked people. Go on Airbnb and see what they rent beachfront villas for in Miami and elsewhere." Exactly, what did you call it? Miami. We like to look down on our own. It's very sad. And it's not a thing of looking down on our own. It's not. I don't think that you can compare.
Look, I do know that there are certain places, exclusive areas in all countries, right? Even in Namibia, Walvis Bay.
Yes.
But there are other places that are affordable. But what we often do in Nigeria is the average, the one that is not even luxurious, is not commensurate to what you will get abroad for mid-range. Because a lot of these services and properties are just overpriced. So I do understand you're a business, you're not charity, the amount you invested in building these facilities, but this is, it's exorbitant, to say the least. But since it's a private business and willing buyer, willing seller, who am I to complain?
Well, especially because the willing buyer has the money to be able to afford it. Because as I did like this, I want to see 5.2 million naira to pay for 24 hours to be in a beach house. A lot of money.
How are you even able to sleep with that kind of money that you pay? I won't sleep. I'll be using all their facilities, touching all the wall.
Yes. We're not here for sleeping.
I use the toilet 16 times.
Stop. Anyway, let us know what you think about the high cost of things. Especially
maybe people should share their personal
December
experiences.
inflation.
Yes, maybe share your personal experiences with the inflation and what you have noticed has been incredibly expensive, especially during this season. We're streaming live on News Central's TV page, News Central Live. Please go there and drop a chat in the chat box to let us know what your personal experiences have been or what your personal hell during Dirty December is. I would always say that my personal hell during December is traffic. Incredibly terrible. And the worst thing that can happen to you, it would seem, is for your car to break down during December. You are going to pay a lot.
Double hell.
Your mechanic is going to go back to his village rejoicing because they will charge you times 2.
The positive thing is that in 2 weeks' time, all of this gragra will
be
end.
over.
And then you see the calm in January. People are now sober. They've spent, their eyes have cleared.
You know the one that pains me.
65 days of January.
Their money.
You know that pains me the most. You'd hear, "Hello, hey bro, how far?" "Yeah, bro, I beg, I just want to see. Can I quickly get a loan or something?"
I'm not getting
I'm going to pay
any
back.
loan.
It's not. I'm expecting something.
I have no loan to give. None
Meanwhile, you saw
whatsoever.
this person on Instagram grooving, popping bottles all through December. Why didn't you think for the future? Please, they say it's in January that you know who is your real friend or a fake friend. I'm a fake friend, no call me.
All right, as we wrap up these conversations, just to take a few tweets or a few messages from X. Lillian Oloha, thank you. We've seen your message, Lillian Oloha. Adewale Alani says, government should learn to use referendum to gather popular opinion on issues of national interest before making decisions to avoid all these back and forth in the government decisions. And I completely understand that. This is important, but also this is why you would think that the president has a cabinet, why the government has ministers, has, you know, permanent secretaries, has different people who are heading different ministries, departments, agencies. These can come together and have meetings and deliberate and, you know, take feedback from the people to their meetings. But again, we really don't know what the situation is and how they process all of this so far. Anyway. That's all that we have for you this morning on Breakfast Central. No, not on Breakfast Central. On the first 2 hours of Breakfast Central, we have one more hour to go, but we're going on a very quick break. And when we come back, we have more in store for you. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central, and now we bring you breakfast headlines. We begin by telling you that Farouk Ahmed has resigned as the Managing Director of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. The resignation comes amid corruption allegations leveled against him by the chairman of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote. In a statement issued on Wednesday, presidential spokesman Bayo Ononuga confirmed the development, adding that Gbenga Komolafe has also stepped down as chief executive of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. Ononuga said President Bola Tinubu has forwarded the names of the two nominees to the Senate for confirmation as replacements. The president has asked lawmakers to expedite the confirmation of Orishemeyiwa Eyesan as the chief executive officer of the NUPRC and Saidu Mohammed as the new head of the NMDPRA. The House of Representatives has commenced an investigation into growing incidences of drug abuse across the country with a view to identifying the root causes and preferring lasting solutions to the menace. Speaking during the opening session of the House Ad hoc Committee on Drugs, Trafficking, Alcohol and Tobacco Use, the chairman of the committee, Oluwatimehin Adelegbe, says that the menace poses a dangerous threat to Nigeria, noting that tobacco companies continue to exploit loopholes to target minors. And now to political matters. The Labour Party has inaugurated its National Steering Committee for Membership Revalidation and New Registration alongside the unveiling of a nationwide membership mobilization drive tagged Labour Party Connect 10 Million Nigerians. The event, which took place in Abuja, brought together party leaders, stakeholders and supporters as the party begins a new phase aimed at strengthening its grassroots base ahead of future political engagements. Party leaders say that the nation building requires collective effort and active political participation, not disengagement, describing the membership drive as a step towards rebuilding national pride and progress.
This is not merely a numerical target. It is a national call to action aimed at strengthening democracy and giving voice to the aspiration of our people. This moment is historic not only for our party, but for Nigeria. We are committed to building a Labour Party that is inclusive, democratic, transparent, and responsive to the needs and hopes of all Nigerians.
We are at a place where, unfortunately, when we are talking about out-of-school children, Nigeria has the highest number. You're talking about mortality, maternal mortality, infant mortality. Nigeria, it's up there. And the next thing that we need to do is to ensure that we're correcting it in a way that our younger generation have a Nigeria they can be proud of. And so I call on everyone and every Nigerian to look at this membership drive as something that is personal. Let us not disenfranchise ourselves. It's one thing to be told that you cannot do it. It's another.
The governor of Oyo State, Governor Seyi Makinde, has cautioned political elites against stoking divisions in the country for political gain. Speaking on national unity and responsible leadership during the book launch of the former Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, the governor warned that such actions threaten Nigeria's cohesion and democratic stability.
my experience is that Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, they already have a consensus that they want to be Nigerians. But the elites, we the elites, were the ones dividing the country because we have ambition. Oh, he's a Muslim, he's Christian, he's Hausa Fulani, he's Yoruba,
And now to insecurity. 12 people have been killed by unknown gunmen in Fan district of Barking Ladi local government area of Plateau State at a mining site, while 3 others were kidnapped and many others already receiving treatment at a nearby hospital for injuries sustained. Speaking to News Central crew to confirm the incident, the Plateau State Public Relations Officer Alfred Alabo, however, declined to speak on the attacks, saying that adequate authorization has not been given to speak on the matter to the media. The National President of Berom Youth Molders Association, Solomon Wantiri, confirmed the incident via telephone, saying that it remains a sad episode, despite the ban on illegal mining in the state. And now we move outside the country to the continent of South Africa, where South Africa has arrested and expelled 7 Kenyan nationals accused of working illegally on a US-backed program offering refugee status to white Afrikaners. The Home Affairs Ministry said the Kenyans were employed to help process applications for resettlement to the United States despite entering the country on tourist visas. Authorities raided an application center after receiving intelligence about the operation. The refugee initiative was launched earlier this year by President Donald Trump's administration, which claimed Afrikaners face discrimination in South Africa, an assertion strongly rejected by Pretoria. And that's how we wrap things up this morning on Breakfast Headlines. We will now continue with Breakfast Central. I am Olive Emodi, and thank you for staying with us.
Hello, welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's time for us to look at the newspaper headlines, and this is also your cue to call in and share your thoughts with us on any one of the stories that interest you or draw your attention. So please feel free to call in the numbers that we will share on your screen shortly. We'll start off with the Leadership newspaper. Let's see what the headline says. Leadership newspaper headline says Customs slaps 3% surcharge on banks over delayed revenue remittance. It's time to heal People's Democratic Party, says the trustees. Farouk Ahmed, Benga Komalafe resign as downstream and upstream oil regulators chiefs. Resignation comes amid serious allegations of corruption against Ahmed by Dangote, Saidu Mohammed or Isemeyiwa Eyisa named as replacements, respectively. Government bars wood allied products exports to curb deforestation. Trader gets life sentence for defiling 13-year-old girl. Gunmen kill 12 miners in Plateau State. An economic council raises livestock panel to resolve farmer herder crisis. And we also have there on the front page of the Leadership newspaper, workers protest nationwide against insecurity. Reps to address alleged discrepancies between bills passed and gazetted tax laws. Akpabio meets U.S. envoy amidst Trump's partial travel ban on Nigeria. Those are some of the headlines we have on the front page of the Leadership newspaper.
So what story do you want to begin with before we go into our next paper? I think we should start with Trump's ban. What do you think?
No, I think life is very important and it's sacred.
Okay. Oh yeah, of course
and
it is.
for 12 Nigerian lives
what was the
lost.
end of the story, end of the papers
Yes.
you took is why I wanted to start with that. But okay, let's begin with that.
Okay.
Take the lead.
Gunmen killed 12 miners in Plateau State.
This is part of the reason why the NLC went on the protest, the demonstration that they went in different parts of the country to protest against insecurity and to ask for a change, because it's really very sad that we always ask the one question, the one repeated question here is, what is the value of the Nigerian life? The girls who were kidnapped, the students who were kidnapped, what's the update? you hear about hundreds of students kidnapped, and it feels like just another regular day, and the country is still, moving on, business as usual. People have gone about their lives. Those who have their children in schools have withdrawn their children, because to be forewarned is to be forearmed. So
schools have closed, and the schools are also on holiday. Do we know if they will resume in January?
Imagine the end of the year.
Put in place to secure the lives of the students when they return to school? Because withdrawing them from school in the first place, it's almost like sending a message that, look, we're afraid of the bandits, we're afraid of this criminal element, so therefore would rather withdraw our children from learning.
But it's really a catch-22 situation, being between the devil and the deep blue sea, because on the one hand, you don't want them to go to school and actually get kidnapped, seeing that we've seen a repeated pattern that has exhibited the government's failure, the government's inability to protect its citizens. And then we criticize the government we say that the government has not been proactive in many instances, and the government has been rather reactive. So if another kidnap had occurred while the schools were still open, citizens would have had the head of the government saying, you should have shut the schools down, you should have taken proactive measures. Now the schools have been shut down. It says that, citizens are saying, you're sending a message.
But it's the responsibility of the government
to provide security. And it has failed in that regard. So it's really been between the devil and the deep blue sea. But again, we ask, what is the value of the Nigerian life? While we're here, while we're counting down to the end of the year, while people are already doing their Christmas shopping, those who can afford to do Christmas shopping, there are families who don't know where their loved ones are, who don't know where their children are, children that is sent to school. They don't know where they are, and they will be ending the year. We hope that they end the year reunited with their families. In different corners of the country, people are pulling together resources, ransom money, to be able to pay for this. And it's really, really sad. But we will explore and analyze more of these stories in a moment. But we'll be joined in a moment by a guest who will take us through the analysis of the state of the nation, which way Nigeria, where are we going to, where are we, and how can we improve the state of security in Nigeria?
That's right, Olive. And that takes us into the conversation properly. Well, let's take a comprehensive look at the state of the nation as Nigeria continues to grapple with economic headwinds, rising insecurity, and significant political developments. Now, let's tell you this, that across the country as we speak, you do have citizens who are feeling the impact of fiscal reforms. You also have inflationary pressures and infrastructure challenges, while security concerns and humanitarian strains test the resilience of communities large and small. With national conversations intensifying on governance, economic strategy and public safety, we're also now joined by someone who definitely is one that is highly respected. Well, he's been there, especially at the assembly, of which I would like to get his thoughts on the tax reforms. What we saw that was in the report, the statement that came after, especially yesterday, from the honorable member, and what Nigerians should expect. We're now joined by human rights activist, author, and former Senator, Honorable Shehu Sani, joins us this morning. Thank you so much for being here on Breakfast Central.
Thank you for having me.
Great. First of all, I know the controversy has been put to rest, that your name was not among the lists of ambassadors that were considered by the current administration. But then again, everyone is asking, why not? I mean, you seem to have every single thing within you and inside of you to give to Nigeria, as one who speaks very loudly, especially on X and on social media, about the good things that Nigeria has in store for its people. So why not possibly have a reconsideration of being one who would be selected as an ambassador for to represent Nigeria?
Well, first of all, I need to remind our good friends that as a senator, I was the vice chairman of the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs. And I said it that there are procedures for the appointment of ambassador. And one of which is that before anyone is appointed an ambassador, a contact has to be made with him to submit his CV, And then there will be security check on him and some form of vetting. But in my case, there is nothing that happened. Some people fed it into the media that I was one of those who was supposed to be nominated. Well, you can't stop people from making their own views, or speculating or creating stories. So that is it. And what I will say on this is that as an activist and a politician, I have more to do in my own state, Kaduna State. And I believe that for anyone who has a political project at home, will not be thinking of moving out of the country for a year or two. In the next 6 to 7 months, the political parties will go into progress. And then a year after will be general election. And in between that time, you have to reach out to people to campaign around, move around. So I don't think anyone who has such kind of plan will also want to be posted out of the country. So, but you need to be a politician for you to understand that in our system, if you are in politics, you have to be on the ground 24/7 and know what's happening. The intrigues, the plans, the plots, all you have to be part of it from the beginning to the end. So it's incompatible when someone has such kind of project ahead of him, and then he is also thinking of leaving the country for nothing. So in the first place, I was not there. So people have critical, and I'm so happy. The people that were appointed have been screened, and they will be posted to do what they need, to do what needs to be done. This is something we need to have done as a country in the last 2 years. But I don't know the reason why we failed to do it. But now with the exigencies of time and the situation has forced the country to do that. So I hope I'm able to answer your question on this. But yes.
Thank you very much for answering that question thoroughly. Let's now get into a conversation that has been a major headline in the past 24 hours, and even more. It's the U.S. visa ban and the President Donald Trump's recent restrictions on granting Nigerians the U.S. visa. You've advised Nigerians to stay home and develop their nation. In your tweet, you said, they said the first visa ban focused on those who engage in acts of religious persecution, and many jubilated on social media, thinking it's only for government officials. The second visa restriction is for everyone, now that Nigeria is listed among 23 others. The recent list has no Arab countries, but mostly Black Africans and Caribbeans, even though safety and security was used as the basis. The message is very clear. Third world migrants are not welcome. Stay back and build your country or deal with your problems. Let's get your thoughts. If you'd like to expand further on this as to why, why you believe that Nigeria was included in the list and what this means for our country.
Well, you see, we have an ultra-conservative administration in the United States headed by Trump. And he has won his election on the promise of anti-immigrant policy, about putting his country first. And from his own rhetorics, it's very clear that he will do whatever it takes to minimize the barest minimum people migrating to his country. And it's not simply about people, all parts of the world. He is not talking of Chinese, he's not talking of Japanese, he's not talking of Europeans. The emphasis has been on people from third world countries. And in their own thinking, that we have nothing to add to them. We are from poor countries, other than we are there as parasites to benefit from them and create more problems to them. So whether you are pro-Trump or anti-Trump, the basic fundamental principle and ideology of Trump is that you as Black Africans, as people from the third world, you are not wanted, you are not needed. If you like, you can tweet 1 billion times, praising him, supporting him. The point is that you are already identified as someone who comes from this part of the world, and in their own new policy, you are not a priority. So if you look at it, they use the basis of security to say that a partial visa ban was imposed on us. But look at it very clearly. Most of the terrorist groups around the world, they emanate from Arab countries, whether it's Al-Qaeda, whether it's ISIS, or whatever it is. But you don't find them being blamed, being criticized, being attacked. It's always Black Africans. And you look at the profile of the major attackers in 9/11. Which country do they come from?
Saudi Arabia.
Did they come? Yeah, none. So when people are supporting Trump, what he says, you don't know that you are putting a knife in your own stomach. The first ban was targeted on people engaged in supporting, encouraging, or perpetrating acts of religious persecution. And we all jubilated. And the young people on social media were jubilating. And I ask you, the U.S., they cannot deny government officials who wants to go there and do their official duty. They cannot deny businessmen who have money to go to the United States. They cannot deny diplomats. So even a statement is made on religious persecution, it means that an instrument is handed over to consular officials to use this as a reason against ordinary person, which will be most of these people who are on social media. On the second hand, you can see how Nigeria was included among the 23 second list of partial ban. Who does it affect? It doesn't affect the billionaire from Nigeria. It doesn't affect the diplomats from Nigeria. It doesn't affect government officials who are going there for official reasons. It affects ordinary people. And you end up supporting what will destroy you, what will restrict you for nothing. People do not understand that if their nation is tagged, if their nation is flat, it's not the government that is flat. It's the whole country. It's every holder of that passport that is flat. So I drew the attention of both Nigerians and other African countries in view of the rise of the far right, not just in the United States, but in Europe. Far right are winning election. Even in the United Kingdom, if Kemi Badenoch or Nigel Farage wins election, you know that is the 80% of people who are migrating to the United Kingdom will not be able to do it because they made it very clear. And even in other parts of Europe, you can see how the far right are getting to power. What is the basic ideology of the far right? We don't want immigrants. We don't want you to come to our country. Our country is what matters to us. So for you, younger people who wants to move to the West, you end up supporting people who are also opposing you coming to their country. Look at that point of view. The point is that the way we are treated as Black Africans is not the way they treat the Chinese, the Japanese, the Vietnamese, and other nations that have the South Koreans. And it's based fact on economic reasons. So for us now to have dignity, to have respect around the world, we need to come back and build our country. It's not only the United States that is restricting Nigeria. We can't even go to Dubai. Even Ethiopia is restricting Nigerians. Ghana has expelled some Nigerians recently. So these are issues. Some people say we are people, we're supposed to be tagged as country of particular concern, thinking that those who are going to be punished are those in government. But if you are tagged as a country of particular concern, it's the whole country that is being blacklisted. And why should you be supporting Trump for what he said about your country and you are criticizing Kemi Badenoch? If anybody from outside of this country say we're a nation of drug traffickers, of 419ers, of Yahoo and others, will you be happy? Nigerians are even being contradicting themselves. Look at what South Africans did to us. Even now, South Africans and Ghanaians said, Trump said you are a disgraced country. And that's what you shouldn't say in our country. Is that okay for you? How can you, as a man, a citizen of a nation, agree to the fact that someone from outside of Nigeria will call your country a disgrace. He didn't call the government a disgrace. If you say it's a disgraced government, you know that there is respect for the people in the country and for even land where you buried your father and mother. But they said a disgraced country, and you are celebrating that your country is disgraced. Now, if you agree that your country is disgraced, why should Ghanaians allow you to stay in their country? Why should South Africa allow you to stay? Why should people from Dubai allow you to stay?
Yes, let's move on to, because of the time the little time we have to spend with you, and we want to unpack so many things. In the time we have now, you were a member of the 8th Senate, and in that Senate, even though the Senate President and the President of the country then belonged to the same party, we saw it perform its oversight functions to the best of its ability. But if you come to the 10th Senate, we had the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, lead his fellow senators in singing on your mandate we shall stand during the last budget presentation. Others have referred to the 10th Senate as a rubber stamp legislature, not living up to its duties and responsibilities. What's your assessment as somebody who used to sit in those hallowed chambers of the current 10th Senate of the Federal Republic?
Yeah, you see, every Senate or National Assembly has its own challenges on its own time, and sometimes they succeed and sometimes they fail. But the point is that, you see, the direction of every Senate is determined by how the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House, and other principal officers emerge into office. Why Saraki's Senate was in quote rebellious and independent and being able to hold government to account was that Saraki and Dogara were not candidates of Buhari. They defeated Buhari's candidates. And as such, you had now a leadership in the Senate that was elected by the parliamentarians. But where the problem always began is when a Senate is inaugurated, when National Assembly is inaugurated, there will be elections. The president will have his candidate and senators will have their candidate. So whoever wins will become the direction of that National Assembly for the next 4 years. So that is why in a case like this, if you know that you happen to be elected by the grace of the president, it's difficult for you to criticize him or to oppose him or to come into because you will be biting the finger that fed you. So the politics of the National Assembly is such a way that it begins from how they emerge into office, and that is how that is what you are witnessing today. This rubber stamp kind of thinking is founded, like the Ahmed Lawan's time, on the fact that he was Buhari's candidate. Buhari saw that he made a mistake with Saraki, and then they corrected it, and now he had his candidate, and they are having their way. So this is how it's happened. And when people go to National Assembly, they keep aside their political party, many of them, and start joining and aligning themselves with what the ruling party say they want to do. And that has been the issue up to today.
All right, Senator Sani, I'd like us to look at the recent issue that was put on the floor of the Assembly. A senator was able to point out the discrepancies in the recent tax reform laws that's about to be passed, that's about to start come January 1. What's your take on that?
You see, making laws is a very serious business. And parliamentarians or lawmakers supposed to be present, especially on matters that affect the life of every citizen, which is lawmaking. When you bring a bill before the National Assembly and you want to get it through, you make sure that without serious opposition, you make sure that you come on a day where there is no serious attendance. And then there it moves the first reading, second reading, and it goes to public hearing. It comes back for concurrence, for the third reading, and then concurrence. And then it's sent to the president. So these kind of things can be avoided if there is vigilance on the side of. But if the observations he has made, if it's fundamentally different from what has been done, then the National Assembly should look into it and then make the necessary correction to make sure that what is there is actually what was agreed upon and what was passed. But this should be a general thing. Lawmakers should learn to sit on their seat and be present when sensitive bills are being brought before them. And then, because these are things that affect the lives of millions of people. So this is my own view on that, while we await and see what the House of Reps are going to do concerning the observation that has been raised by the senator from the member from Secretary State.
All right. I'll now go back to the issue of insecurity again. You were reported to have said that insecurity in northern Nigeria persists in part because of a culture of complicity. But some Nigerians have also said that insecurity is being weaponized. Do you agree? And what should northern leaders begin to do differently to ensure that the region is safe?
Yeah, you see, we have been through this issue of insecurity in the last 15 years. It started with Eredu administration, with the killing of Boko Haram leader, Ahmed Yusuf, and then Jonathan, it consumed Jonathan, and then it went through the Buhari administration, and then here we are. Now, insecurity started with Boko Haram, and now later we have ISWAP, then we have Ansaru, then we have Mahmudawa, Alakurawa, all these affiliates that emerged from this thing. Now, in the Northwest, which is my own part of the country, bandits that are basically Fulani have picked up arms, kidnapping people, and extorting ransom, raping women, burning down villages. This is what they do in Zamfara, Katsina, Niger State, part of Kaduna State, Sokoto State, and Kebbi State. So it's the same thing they are doing in Benue and Plateau. But when they do it in Benue and Plateau, it's being seen to be Muslims that are killing Christians. But they are all evil forces, the same people perpetrating all these things here. Now, where are we and where are we heading to? Now, the problem, we're here today because many people, especially in the North, that are supposed to speak out in the past, refuse to do that. Their complicity is in their silence. And their silence was founded on the ground that the person who was the head of government at that time come from our own part of the country. And as such, they don't speak out, they don't criticize, they don't bring his attention to that. And even those of us who try to say, no, look at it. It doesn't mean Buhari is Fulani and I am. So I should keep quiet when these bandits are killing our people, terrorists are killing our people, because I don't want to be seen to be damaging the image of the administration. That was wrong. At a certain time, a traditional ruler in Kaduna was even suspended for raising issues of insecurity. So we allow this thing here to fester for a very long time. When people are talking of kidnapping, kidnapping that happened in Kebbi State recently, and the one in Niger State in St. Mary's Catholic School. But this is not. This is part of the chain of kidnapping in school that have happened the last over 1 decade. Even in Kaduna State alone, we had attack on Greenfield University, where over 200 students were kidnapped under Buhari administration, and some of them were killed. We have attack on Bethel Baptist High School in Kaduna. We had attack on College of Agri-Forestry in Kaduna. We had attack on even Nigerian Defense Academy in Kaduna, and people were kidnapped. We have the attacks on Government Science College, Kagara in Niger State. We had attacks on Government Secondary School, Jengibe in Zamfara State. We have attacks on Government Secondary School, Kankara in Kaduna State, where Buhari comes from. We had attack on Dapchi. So I can state all these attacks, but for the want of time. Now, what has happened today is even lesser than what has been happening in the past. Because at least you can see that students were kidnapped and were released after a week or two. In Federal Government Girls College, Yaouri, when the students were kidnapped under Buhari, they were in captivity for over 1.5 years. They were in the hands of those bandits. So as far as we're concerned, the North, we have to understand and appreciate and agree that these are all local problems. We have to sit down in a hall, find solution to it, and confront these people. These Fulani bandits in northwestern part of Nigeria, they are our people. They are from our own tribe. We eat the same food. We come from the same place. They don't worship in the same mosque because they know they will be arrested if they come to our mosque. But we are from the same place. These are issues we need to tackle ourselves. If we don't do it, this has a chance of consuming each and every one of us. The terrorists in the northeastern part of Nigeria must be confronted. This idea of pampering them, look at it. We have in the northwest here, Bello Turji is a non-terrorist from Zamfara State. Alero, who is from Zamfara State, is also a non-terrorist. There are others like Baleri, Manjagara, Kachella. All those people are terrible, are terrorists who have been killing and kidnapping people. But we must appreciate the fact that Nuhu is actually doing a lot. People will not look at the success he has. They only look at the incidences that happen. But I knew the fact that many of these leaders were eliminated in the last 2 years. And it became even impossible for them to cross from one place to another. Look at this, our national grid. When last did we hear that it has been ruined down? Because they are the ones who have been attacking it. At least success has been achieved at that level. Terrorism is a cancer that will continue to fight. Even developed, advanced, and powerful nations are finding it difficult even to protect their school, to protect their worshiping places, and to eliminate terrorism in 24 hours. So this is a battle of our time. We shouldn't pamper them. We shouldn't beat them. We should fight them. A nation of 230 million people shouldn't be held hostage by a band of terrorists that are less than 5,000. We have to unite as a country to fight. It's not about Muslim, it's not about Christian being persecuted. It's not about Muslims that are encouraging this here. We have a common enemy, and only on the basis of uniting to fight it is what we need to do as a country today. That is how we should go up.
Thank you so much, Senator Sani. I believe you mean the time for carrot and stick approach is over. But let's move on to other matters. Let's talk corruption. Major news incident broke out earlier this week, that caused a lot of public reaction, and it's the resignation of the NMDPRA CEO Farouk Ahmed after $5 million embezzlement allegation by Aliko Dangote. What's your take on all of this, Dangote's allegations and Mr. Ahmed's subsequent resignation?
Well, it's a blessing for Nigeria. At least people that are rich enough are also turned into activists, and they're also fighting. And you can imagine that this thing has been able to work because it may have come from Dangote. Perhaps if it is a certain poor man that have raised this thing here, perhaps he will have ended up in prison or in the cell by this time here, and told that he's trying to damage the image of someone. But the point is that we should look at it beyond this point because Dangote is in a battle. He fought Kerry, he fought Pengerson, and now he has fought Farouk. But it's very clear that the industry which he has set up is one that will continue to battle and stretch interests. And while they are accusing him of trying to hold a monopoly. But the most important thing is that when public officers are alleged to have done things like that, and it's proven, they excuse themselves. And the CEO of downstream, midstream, was able to do that, and according to reports. And I think that is fine. But I think it's a good thing for people in high places to speak out. But you should know very well that when you speak out, make sure you're also clean, because some people will also go backward and also speak about your own side. But we are making progress as a country, and I believe we should move forward and achieve more. And people should not be afraid to speak out when the nation is being economically ruined.
All right, let's talk about this current administration. I mean, Senator, just quickly, how would you score the current administration? So far, so good? There seems to be a lot of policy somersault from pronouncements that are made and then they're taken back. We've seen a lot of them. Just a few minutes ago, we all looked at some of them here on this program this morning. We've seen the case of the Dubai incidents. We've seen the NTA incidents. We've seen so much cybersecurity. We've seen the 5% VAT. There's so many. And then it's like it's back and then it's taken, away from the public. What do you make of that, especially looking at the current administration and how they're faring, especially with the budget and finance? 30 trillion naira shortfall is what was also presented recently.
Well, this is the first time in Nigeria's history where we have a president who has a vision of reform. And this reform comes with a lot of price that's been paid by Nigerians. So many of our former leaders are afraid of implementing reforms out of fear of the consequences of public reactions or the consequences of their own political fortune and foundations. Because as a politician, you sometimes fear doing things that is good for people, but you stand the risk of losing your own political base or support. So we have a president who is not afraid to be unpopular, who's not afraid to be criticized, and he implemented bold reforms. And the good side about the reforms is that people like me will have spent all our years defending petroleum subsidy. But at a certain time, we have to ask ourselves, who are the beneficiaries of the subsidy? Why should a nation that is so endowed with resources should have to suffer? So subsidies has been removed and prices are coming down in that aspect. They say inflation is coming down, so many things. But in the general sense, there are areas which the government has achieved successes, and there are areas which questions are raised. The removal of subsidy has given governors, the leaders of the sub-nationals, hundreds of billions of naira for them to be able to implement projects. Most of the states you have gone, you see roads, you see housing, you see schools, you will see hospitals being built. You will see that there are no more complaining that they don't have money. So that is good for the country. But secondly, I am not an economist, but I don't know how to defend this, that we were told by the Minister of Finance 2 years ago that we will not be borrowing because subsidies are removed and money is saved. But you find ourselves borrowing now. So I'm a bit confused on that. And when I read recently that we are rolling over 2024 budget, 2025, and 2026, it's also something I actually don't really understand. But in general sense, I believe that Tinubu is doing better than all his predecessors, and that he should understand that nobody is going to clap for you if you implement a reform when people are paying the price and making sacrifices. But the moment people start seeing the fruits of that reform, certainly their views will change. And I think it is better we sacrifice today so that our children will have a better country in the future. So we have to put time during our own time. So this is my brief view as far as the state of the nation is concerned.
Our hope is for the president to succeed, because if the nation succeeds in improving the quality of life for our country, I don't think that there's any of us that wants Nigeria to fall apart. Because when Nigeria improves in quality of life, the quality of life of citizens improves, and there's a general all-round prosperity. And we do look forward to having better conversations in this regard. Thank you very much, Senator Shehu Sani, for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Bob.
All right. And to our virtual audience, thank you for joining us. Our guests who have joined us virtually as well as physically, thank you for joining us. We apologize for not bringing the newspaper today, but of course, we'll return with the newspaper front pages tomorrow. My name is Olive Emodi, and I'll see you tomorrow.
And I'm Benga Bora. Merry Christmas. Why are you laughing?